Hi, this is Pea Soups, and welcome back to Happy Little Saplings. This episode, we have a project. We've put so much work into our power production. We've got all of the vats set up, we've got sugar being farmed, we've got potatoes being farmed, we've got redstone being farmed, but we don't have the blaze powder for our fire water. So we need to automate the production of that. Now there are glowstone seeds that we can use, but I thought it'd be more fun to use a little bit of Britannia alchemy to get this done. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get some Steve's Factory mod and some alchemy working together so that we can do this. So let's get started. Let's throw down our alchemy catalyst and our mana pool and make sure that's linked up okay. You should be good. So any good Steve's Factory mod project starts with the inventory manager, of course, and we should have some inventory cables. So we'll pop one up here to access the chest, and we'll run these along. And we'll need one up there. And let's see here. So that needs to be up like that. And I'll explain this as we go. So we're going to use a redstone receiver here in order to receive the signal from this comparator. Now, what the comparator will do is it will sense how much mana is in the pool, and it will give out a redstone signal proportional to the amount in there. So if it's empty, it'll give out a signal of 0. If it's full, it'll give out a signal of 15. So we can use this redstone receiver to check the status of this mana pool right here. The next part of this is the block gate. And let's put it down, make sure it's facing the right direction. So what the block gate does is it will output items for us. So as you know from our setup in our regular Britannia setup, we need to output potatoes on top of the Gormarellis for it to work. And that's what the block gate will take care of for us. So we'll create a trigger that we want to run every, let's say, 10 seconds. We're going to create a redstone condition, and we won't link it up just yet, but let's select our redstone receiver, and we'll check for, let's say, 2 through 15. That sounds good. So now this will evaluate either true or false. So if there's only a tiny amount in here, then that will give out a redstone signal of 1. If there's a little bit more than a tiny amount, then it'll give off the redstone signal of 2, and this condition right here will evaluate true. If there isn't enough in there, then it will evaluate false, and in that case, we can make use of that information. So if it evaluates to false, so if there isn't enough mana in there for us, we can go ahead and use an input and output. So let's set this one up. We'll input from the chest, and we'll use a baked potato. And if we right click on that, we can specify an amount, and we only want it to send one out at a time. So we've got that set up, and we'll use the output as the block gate inventory. So now to read this through, we're checking this redstone receiver right over there to see what level of redstone it's giving out. If it's not giving out enough, then we essentially take a potato from the chest and output it into the Gormarellis. So let's give that a try. Let's link up our trigger. And this already has a baked potato in there. Okay, so he just tossed that down. And we are feeding the Gormarellis. Now let's check. I forgot to refill my band of mana. Let's do that real quickly here. Yep, that's good. I really need to automate this properly at some point instead of just having it grabbing all of the potatoes that it can. Okay, that should be enough for us for now for testing. Alright, so if we toss this guy in here, he'll fill up that pool, and eventually this comparator right here will start giving off a signal, a redstone signal of 2. So this condition will then evaluate to true since we're having it check, and there it goes. See how it's not outputting anymore? That's what we're looking for. So actually I want to grab some of this mana back so that it starts using these baked potatoes that we're providing to it. And as it pulls this out, what we should see, there we go, it didn't have enough in there anymore, so the block gate tossed another potato into the Gormarillus. So that's working exactly as planned. Now we can just put in a bunch of potatoes into here, and it should be self-sustaining. We don't have to worry about it running out anytime soon, because it will use them pretty sparingly. Now, what's going to be using this mana? We're going to be throwing redstone into it, and to throw redstone into it, we're going to need another block gate, which actually looks like I did not grab. So let's go ahead and make one of those. Now the great thing is about the Steve's Factory mod items is they are fairly easy to craft. So let's get this done really quickly. So we got that. And what am I missing from that? You guys, we got you, and a piece of redstone. I don't know why that wasn't working there. No big deal. And I thought I had everything together. Okay, you, and you. Okay, got our second block gate. So now what we want to do is be able to put items into this mana pool. So let's toss him up here. Oh, there we go. Now this isn't going to be pretty for now, but we can work on that later. You guys already know me. I make things work first, and then we can pretty them up afterwards. Alright, so now we have access to this block gate over here, and we'll go ahead and grab our item valve. So what the item valve does is it allows us to grab items from an inventory, from the world, I'm sorry. Let's make sure he's pointing in the right direction, and make sure he's pointing in the right direction. Shift and right clicking one of these block gates will have it point in the opposite direction. If you right click it, then it will point at the direction you're pointing at. If you shift click, it'll point in the opposite direction. So we can shift and click that right there, and we can be confident that it is pointing downwards. Very good. Okay, so now that is taken care of, we can now output items from the block gate and input items into the item valve. So let's take care of that portion of it. We'll throw some redstone in here. And since we can be confident now, since this has this little script running right here, we can be confident that this will always have mana in here. So we can just have it toss out. Actually, you know what? Just in case this does run out of mana, say we run out of potatoes in the chest, let's have that process check that as well. So instead of linking straight to our condition here, we can use that same condition, but we can use a flow control. So what a flow control allows us to do is have one input and create two outputs from that. So let's move this down a little bit. So this is also going to operate. Actually, is that? You know what? That's not even necessary. Let's move these over and lay things out a little bit differently. So if that's false, if it doesn't have enough, then it will go through the process of adding mana through throwing a potato out. If it's true, then we can throw the redstone out. That sounds like a better way of going about things. So we'll do the same thing. We'll use our input inventory and we'll whitelist redstone. And here we go, having to scroll through this whole thing. I still don't know exactly. There has to be a better and faster way of selecting just redstone, but I haven't found it yet. Here we go. Okay, redstone. And I know from a little bit of experimentation that we can use we can do 7 at a time per mana burst. Now, we don't need to do that much, so we'll just specify that 1 again, because those vats will not take quite that much. And output, we will use the second block gate. So this one's 2 blocks away. We know that it's further away. It's this 6. So we'll output from that second block gate. Now let's link that up. Oh, actually, now that I rethink it again, we want to do this more often than once every 10 seconds. Or actually, you know, let's just tell it to do 10 at a time. That's okay. All right, so if there is enough redstone, then we will input the redstone from the chest and we will output it to the block gate. So let's go ahead and select that guy. And hopefully, next time it checks. Do we have redstone in here? We do. Alright, let's take a look at that. Make sure we've got everything selected properly. So we've got a chest. And we've got redstone whitelisted. 10 redstone. And output, inventory, block gate. Let's take a closer look there. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Let's try. And there's nothing wrong with things not quite going according to plan first time. That is how we learn. So let's go ahead and pop him there and then face him downwards, just in case it's because he's facing this mana pool directly. Maybe that was a little too close for comfort for him. So let's go ahead and verify that we have the correct block gate selected. And input. Is that enough? Is that evaluating to true? You know what? There's the issue. It doesn't have enough mana, so it was evaluating to false. And you know what? I kind of like the look of that as it is anyway. So let's go ahead and tidy that just a tad. There we go. Yeah, I'm alright with that. Okay, let's toss some mana. Oh, nope, wrong way. Other way. So now that should start evaluating to true. And there we go. That did throw out redstone. Let's make sure it's pointing in the correct direction. Alright, so we see what's happening there as well. That is, it looks like that block gate does not want to point downwards. It does not. Oh, you know what? This is the wonder of Steve's Factory mod. So that output, again, this is something that we've learned. Let's go ahead and activate the bottom side of that output. Let's see if that makes a difference. Nope. Okay. Now, as you can probably tell, I haven't actually built this thing yet, even to test it, so it is going to require a little experimentation, and that's okay. That's the fun part for me. Let's see if that hits. We'll need to change that output again. So it is that guy. Oh! Wow. Okay. Okay. So that actually looks pretty good. Let's maybe enclose it a little bit so that it doesn't have free reign to fly all over the place. There we go. Alright, let's give that another try. Oh, that's going to be a problem with the mana spreader. Oops. Okay, so let's see. You know what? I think, actually, if we grab that mana spreader and we put it here instead, or actually, even better, I think it might work underneath it. Let's give that a try. Oh, nope, we got the alchemy catalyst there. Not a big deal. And I did just notice what's happening with this. There we go. Since the glowstone is staying in there, it's turning itself back into redstone, and then it turns itself back into glowstone, so it's kind of going in an endless cycle there. Okay, so let's toss that in there. We'll get some more mana, make sure that that part is working. There we go. And I do need to change that trigger interval, because that's going to waste a lot of potatoes if we leave it at 10 seconds. And we'll change the output. I think we did it on the input side. Not that one, this one. Items, input, items, redstone, and we'll do 20 at a time here. Okay, much better. And let's go ahead and fuel this guy up since we know he's working okay. So the next step, let's throw those in. The next step is grabbing the glowstone from the mana pool before it gets turned back into redstone. So for that, we will use actually a completely different program, a completely different set of instructions. And we will time this every second. And we'll use an input. And that input will be our item valve. And we want to select only grab glowstone. And then we'll need an output. We don't even have an output just yet. But for now we can use our input chest just for example. So let's connect that up and change the input there. Alright, so now if I feed enough mana into this guy, that should start evaluating to true, and we should start using redstone. Okay, that should hopefully be plenty. Oh, I can't get out. There we go. So we saw those jump out of there, and look, we have glowstone dust. That is wonderful. Except I no longer have any mana in my band of mana, so I'm running very slowly. Alright, so we've got the first bit of this set up. Let's pop him in there. So the next step is to turn the... That's enough for now. The next step is to turn, or not really turn, but output the glowstone and some redstone into... I know I had it around here somewhere. Here we go. So we have a magma crucible, and we'll go ahead and drop him here, and a fluid transposer, and we'll drop him here. And let's link those up with the inventory cable so we have access to them. And let's see, we'll go ahead and set the back to input and the bottom to output. Actually, this one doesn't really matter with the other outputs. But the back will input and the left side will output. So when we put redstone in here, that will fill this bar, and then it will send the melted redstone into the fluid transposer. And he is already accepting input from the top, so we'll need to set him to accept input from the right. And let's see, we'll use the back as the input for the items here. That should be fine. That should be fine. And what's he outputting to? Let's go ahead and output to the bottom. There we go. There we go. Okay. So once again, Steve's Factory mod, we have full access to those inventories now. So if we change our output inventory to the, let's say, the magma crucible, yep, that is correct. So any glowstone that we pull in will be put into that magma crucible. And we can also do we are going to need a flow control for this. This bit I haven't thought out quite as much, so we may have to play with this a little bit. But that's okay. Alright, so we've got this guy needs to be a splitter because we want to trigger this one, but at the same time we want to trigger the output of glowstone. So it's actually a redstone. So it's actually a 4-to-1. We need 4 redstone per 1 glowstone. So let's go ahead and create the input for that redstone. And I did just have a thought. We're going to need to change things a little bit again, but that's okay. That's okay. So we'll go ahead and input from the chest. Let's move these guys over. There we go. We'll input from the chest, and we want redstone. And once again, we have to play this game. So the change that I'm going to have to make is we need to grab the glowstone every second so that it doesn't have a chance to turn back into redstone. And we need to specify 4. We need to do that every second, but we only want this to happen maybe every 10 seconds so that we don't overload the system. So we'll output the redstone into the, which one am I grabbing here? Magma Crucible. That needs to be Fluid Transposer. My apologies. And this one, the redstone, goes into the Magma Crucible. So the Magma Crucible will melt it and send it into the Fluid Transposer, and the Fluid Transposer, I've gotten myself all confused. Let me figure this out for a second. I'll be right back with you guys. Okay. And I'm back with you guys. I just had to think through things, and I didn't want to be wasting everyone's time as I'm faffing around with this. I think we are good though. The redstone is getting fed into the Magma Crucible, and the glowstone is getting fed into the Fluid Transposer, which the redstone will make it to eventually. Now, this triggers once a second, it looks like. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to need a conditional in here to make sure we're not producing too much of this stuff. But for now, I think we'll be okay. So let's actually set this to trigger every 5 seconds, and we'll see how that works. So now that's hooked up, we should be able to throw some redstone and glowstone in here. So that's producing an awful lot of... Oh, is that not pulling it back in? Oh, that's why. So I'm grabbing... Yep. I changed that interval to 5 seconds, and we have the item valve set as the input on that. What we need to do is create another trigger that runs every second to grab up that that glowstone. So that's every second. Input is the item valve, and output. Let's go ahead and use our input box as kind of a buffer here. So that's the item valve, items, whitelist glowstone, and output to the chest. There we go. So now that should have the glowstone in the chest. This is getting a little bit complicated, but if we look at the pieces parts, it all makes sense. So now our input for the oh, I had the wrong one selected there anyway. The input for our glowstone is now actually going to be that chest. And it should put that into the fluid transposer if I've done my job correctly. Maybe it is a side issue, so we need it to be the back side for the fluid transposer. Output, inventory, fluid transposer, target. What direction is that? North. Okay. Oops. Output, target, north, and deactivate the up. There we go. So now we've got the glowstone dust coming into here. And we probably have a similar issue with our redstone. And since I'm playing around with this right now... Oh, he doesn't have any power. And let's grab some cable. I think I have some in here. There we go. Oh, let's grab some more redstone while we're at it. Power those guys up. Yep, they're good. And we can toss our redstone in here. Let's make sure... Oh, it's going to take a while for that guy to fill up enough. Let's change the condition on that to require a little bit less. There we go. Okay, so that's pulling those out and putting them into the chest, and anything that it can, it will fit into the fluid transposer there. Now, let's fix the redstone, which I think was this one, yep. And output to the target's north side. And that's input. Do I have that correct here? Inventory, chest, items, whitelisted redstone. And output, inventory, oh, that's why. It was the wrong machine. Maybe? Okay, we got some troubleshooting to do here. Okay guys, I think we've got it squared away. I think we're good. So this is now set to, it was an issue with the sides on this one. So I've set the sides properly in the outputs. I've also added a condition here to check if there's already glowstone. There should be 15 glowstone in here at all times. So as you can see right now it is not producing any glowstone. If we pull that out, next time that triggers, we should see some redstone get processed. Oh, right now it's filling up its mana pool. Okay, so that won't display right now until it... Oh, there it goes. So now it has 20 glowstone dust. It shouldn't output any more redstone. And it looks like it's doing the job just fine. Now if we pull that out, that should fire again. Anyhow, so we've added that condition just so that we don't produce too much glowstone. Also, I've added a condition over here for the blaze powder, and it should have 192 blaze powder, which is 3 stacks of 64. So these guys should all be good. And that means that we can install our energy cell, and these guys will all fire up. And these guys should fire up as well. Yep, as long as everyone's getting RF. So we've got redstone coming into here, glowstone coming into here, and blaze powder being the result of all of that. So the last thing to do, we can pull out that glowstone from there, and I don't know, maybe put it back in that box or something, but what I think would be even better is if we linked it directly up to this network right here. Now, this one does already have a manager on here, but we should be able to have 2 on there without too much of an issue. I may be eating those words in a short while, but let's give it a try anyhow. So I have dug out a room over there already, so I should just be able to dig straight in. There we go. And where are we going with that? Looks like out there. This is what experimentation is all about. Figure out what you can do. Let's jump up on out of there. And I guess we can come along the bottom here. There we go. Well, we didn't crash the game, and everything should be linked up. So now I should be able to link these guys on, looks like X508. Let's see if we have access to those. So one final trigger over here, and an input and an output. So trigger every second, that's fine. Input is going to be, oh, looks like we do have access to those vats. The input is going to be the results of the fluid transposer. Let's make sure that we, yep, down. And our output is going to be, oops. Let's move this over just so we can see. Here we go. 50 contains water and hooch. So it's these guys. Okay. So this is the result. Let's put him all the way down here. And what are we missing here? Did I not select an inventory? Yep. What's the white list is empty. Oh, okay, that's fine. Blaze powder. And output to the vats. Let's take a look at how that's working. Would you look at that? Would you Adam and Eve it? We now have blaze power being produced, and it seems to have access to everything. These guys are still full. So yeah, that is our somewhat convoluted but well worth it. It was worth the challenge. Essentially, we're creating blaze powder from redstone and baked potatoes. I think that's a pretty good trade-off. I'm all for that. I like it. So we'll pretty that up some other time. For now, I think we've been through enough. I'm proud. I'm really proud of what we've created here. Okay, so that's us for the episode. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've learned something, and I'll see you again next time.